Today we're going over the Yearning to Give Winter banner in Fire Emblem Heroes. The orb spending never stops, and with a new emblem pair arriving on Christmas Eve or on Christmas Day for most, this winter banner is quite stacked with some fun units. You can get winter themed alts for Hortensia, Shez, Fomortiis, and Duo Alear plus Alear. Let's be honest, this is more of a Sommie alt if anything. We'll go over everyone's stats and skills, plus discuss some general playstyles and build ideas. By the way, there's no 4-star focus unit, and you can spark this banner up to 4 times. Santa Sommie demands your orbs. Starting us off is Winter Hortensia. She's a cavalry healer this time with 40 HP, 45 attack, 48 speed, 17 defense, and 30 res. Speed super boon, and just amazing offensive stats. She's not rearmed, but Hortensia still has a treasure trove of old healer skills if you want fodder. She's got Holy Pressure for Gravity and Poetic Justice for Wrathful Staff. You then got good old reliable attack and speed catch 4. Hortensia's weapon's going to be the Snowman Staff, 14 might, and this is a Slaying Dazzling Staff weapon. Hortensia's isn't a flyer, but she has 2 space warping for herself. If she uses a rally or movement assist, Hortensia grants full pound doubler and -1 cooldown to herself, the target ally, and then all allies within 3 spaces. The cooldown part only works once per turn. For combat, if within 3 spaces of an ally, Hortensia gets attack and speed equal to 6, plus 20% of her speed from start of combat. She has full no follow-up effects, and has true damage equal to 20% speed. Very solid offensive healer perks, and Hortensia can jump around or just move 3 spaces normally to use it. If you instead heal an ally with one of the rally or movement assist healer skills, she can provide AoE -1 cooldown. Free cooldown without fighting is very strong, and it can hit multiple allies like the new Lucina. Why not bring both? For her unique C skill, Winter Hortensia has brought over her rearmed alts, Glittering Anima. The only difference is that the speed and res debuff is now -7, and Hortensia gets 50% DR piercing. Frankly, that is hilarious to see on a quote-unquote healer. For those unfamiliar, this skill has a buffing and debuffing part. For allies within 3 spaces, Hortensia gives +6 attack and speed, Conto 1, and the status to neutralize stat debuffs in combat. For the closest foe and foes within 3 spaces of that, she inflicts -7 speed and res, panic, and discord. If we include full bounty doubler from Snowman Staff, that's -14 speed and res. If the foe has panic debuffs, full bounty doubler also doubles those. Very good setup here. For Hortensia's own combat, she can get +5 attack and speed and no guard. With the -1 cooldown and slaying from her staff, Hortensia can trigger Holy Pressure on her follow-up attack. Now for something new, Hortensia has Ice Lock Plus. This is a new healer assist, and it's a 2-range heal like Physic. This skill is treated as a rally assist and heals for 40% attack while granting +6 defense and res to the ally. If there are no Divine Vein ice tiles applied by your team, Ice Lock will deploy Ice Terrain to 2 spaces away from the target. If used on turn 2 or later, the user gets an extra action and self-inflicted gravity. This effect has a 2-turn cooldown. It took quite a while, but Magic Shield finally has an alternative. Ice Lock is almost like Engage's Obstruct Staff, which I always thought would be really cool to see in Fae. Instead of a 1 ice tile though, Ice Lock works like Brave Robin, where you set up a little ice fort to block enemy movement. Effective usage will require some good planning, but this being a ranged heal means Hortensia can buff an ally from behind, plus she has counter to retreat. If used on turn 2 though, you get the extra action. Because Hortensia has her own 2-space warp and this is a 2-space heal, she can apply Ice Lock, gain her Snowman Staff buffs, then jump over her allies to attack, effectively ignoring the gravity penalty. She can then Kanto right behind the ice terrain fort. Fun little playstyle right there. Hortensia will once again provide quite a lot of support for your team, while also just being a strong offensive healer. She can get Holy Pressure to trigger on a follow-up or just have it pre-charged. The Gravity plus Ice Terrain after using Ice Lock is super disgusting. On top of this, Hortensia has 50% DR piercing, so unless the foe neutralizes Wrathful Staff, she's just a colorless mage. Skill-wise, this is a strong base kit. You can use a different special like Glitter of Light, but Holy Pressure works really nicely with Ice Lock. For healer A skills, really not a lot of choices for a Cav. For the B slot though, things have gotten interesting for the new Wrathful Staff Sacred Seal. This can replace Poetic Justice. Less damage, but Hortensia can instead grab things like Resonance for DR Piercing or Fortress for Kanto. For any other healer, these would be great, but Hortensia already has those effects covered. Wings of Mercy 4 would be neat because Ice Lock's a ranged heal. This could let Hortensia warp from anywhere, apply Ice Lock, then attack. Now, for a fun option, healers can also use Speed Preempt. I mean, maybe not the worst choice, especially if you pre-charge a special. Now, be on the lookout for new B skills healers may want to run. For Sacred Seals though, if you're going to lose stats if you do go with Wrathful, Hortensia is just fine with the usual Blade Session or Attack and Speed Catch type skills. All in all, very fun unit, long range healer that can provide free cooldown and set up ice terrain. The extra action with a Holy Pressure AoE gravity, plus the ice terrain can be super debilitating. Hortensia will go down easily if touched, but without no C Disrupt, letting her initiate is gonna be a bad idea. Next up we have Winter Female Shez. She's decided to combine her various ults to become a Green Dagger Cavalier. For stats, Shez has 40 HP, 45 attack, 48 speed, 30 defense, and 22 resistance, speed super boon, and same offensive stats as our Winter Healer. Now for ult skills, Shez has Luna and she's borrowing Pulse Smog from her male counterpart, very fun dagger only skill that provides Scowl alongside Pulse Smog's effects. Now Shez's Red Fist blades are once again slaying brave daggers. Every turn though, if above 25% HP, Shez gives plus 6 attack and speed, Incited, and the Breath type cooldown status to nearby allies. For combat, Shez gets stats based on number of foes within 3 rows or 3 columns, times 3. With a base plus 5, she can get up to plus 14 to all stats with 3 enemies in range. In addition, Shez has 20% speed as true damage and 7 flat DR for first attacks. Winter Female Shez has upgraded her Brave Daggers to closer match the new male Shez from this year. For Christmas, Shez basically gives Incited attack and speed to her team, and Breath type cooldown, which is always good to have. This Shez will bring along over her legendary ult's Swift Slice A skill. It still has its original effects of plus 8 to all stats and effective damage if Shez outspeeds. Against Sword, Lance, and Axe infantry, Shez needs a massive plus 20 speed to get this effect. It is powerful, but you do gotta go very fast if the foe has strong infantry tanks. Now new to this skill is that Shez gets 30% damage reduction for first attacks, she gets full enough follow up, and has 50% DR piercing. For a brave attacker with effective damage, the DR piercing is very strong, and if Shez activates the effective damage, she's gonna double thanks to no follow up. Quad attacking effective damage is disgusting, and now regular percent DR isn't totally safe to hide behind either. Shez will bring along a third tier 4 disarm trap skill. This one can be used by all daggers except armored ones. Like other disarm trap skills, you can neutralize bolt or heavy traps and make it easier to avoid hex traps. For the combat part, this inflicts minus 4 speed and defense, and you get extra debuffs equal to the total number of positive statuses on the user plus the number of negative statuses on the foe, times 2. If you have 4 advantageous statuses, you can get up to minus 12 speed and defense max. Full disarm also grants no guard. Worth noting, full disarm grants the most amount of stat debuffs. For Shez, every point of speed can matter, so going from minus 4 to minus 12 is great, and she's already halfway there thanks to her weapon. As for no guard, there's just an amazing perk for a slaying brave dagger with breath type cooldown. Shez has 3 cooldown perks, only missing out on instant cooldown. She can proc her Luna on her second hit if not stopped by defensive tempo. For the most part, Winter Shez is just full on offense. Like other Slice Swift versions, the effective damage is player phase only, so no cheesy bandit stuff. As a ranged cav, this Shez wants to initiate. If the foe is an infantry, sword, lance, or axe user, you need 20 plus speed, which is a lot. If you can hit that though, effective damage quad attacks with potentially 2 Luna procs and 50% TR piercing is gross. Now defensively, Shez has 30% damage reduction, 7 flat DR, and then Pulse Smog Scowl. If you have enough firepower, you could say Pulse Smog isn't needed. If that's the case, then Lookout Force is just amazing because it's a Kanto 2 skill. Shez can get in, but she's not getting out without Kanto. Lookout Force even gives attack and speed and neutralizes debuffs. For another damage option, with no follow-up and her wanting to outspeed with Swift's Ice anyway, Desperation 4 will enable the instant quad attacks. While no guard is really nice for double Luna or a spicy lethality, Shez may not even need a special with her damage output. Generally speaking, while Shez would like Kanto, her toughest targets aren't just gonna let her quad attack easily. Stuff like Hardy Bearing and Shield Fighter's absurd tanking power will force Shez to face a counter possibly. This is where Pulse Smog Scowl and her damage reduction perks can help. If you just need pure firepower, a Quicken Pulse Astro could be an option. Astro scales off base damage, and that includes the effective damage attack multiplier. Emblem Marth for double slaying could potentially get Shez 2 Astro procs too. Overall, another scary quad attacker. Most units have effects you can generally find on certain skills or supports. Effective damage is not really one of those things. If you cannot outspeed Shez, it is gonna hurt. Our third unit for this banner is Winter Fomortiis. This is when Fire Emblem Heroes is at its best, turning the big bad final boss Demon King into Santa Claus. Seems like Leon's Forging Bonds blackmail is finally being put to good use. For this ult, Winter Fomortiis is a red armored beast. In 2 or so weeks, we've literally doubled the number of playable armored beasts in the game. For stats, Fomortiis will have 49 HP, 47 attack, 16 speed, 49 defense, and 46 res, defense super boon, min-max stats, all good stuff. For ult skills, this ult is utilizing the build some are putting on the OG. Shield Fighter is just too powerful for survivability, and is exactly what the Demon King wants considering his turn-ending gimmick. Now for Icy Ravager, it got some new effects. At start of either phase, Fomortiis gets times pulse. He has Sling. If the foe initiates or has 175% HP, inflict attack and defense debuffs equal to 6 plus 20% flat defense. Fomortiis deals true damage and gets flat damage reduction equal to X, with X being 10, plus the total number of foes defeated in the current phase, and the number of foes that have already acted times 3. If there are 3 of either of these, you can get the max 19 true damage and flat DR. For other effects, you get no guard, and if specials at max cooldown after combat, you get -1 cooldown again. That's the other half of times pulse 4. Basically, Winter Fomortiis will always be ready a 3 cooldown special if he gets hit unless the foe has Scout. Now that doesn't really matter for defensive specials, and the times pulse effect also doesn't affect the standard shield fighter setup with Emblem Mart's Ring. Currently, nothing uncharges defensive specials in combat. For the true damage and flat DR, Fomortiis gets stronger if he or his team KOs foes during the current phase. He also gets stronger if foes have acted. This plays directly into the Demon King's gimmick. Nightmare has become Leaden Regrets. For this skill, Fomortiis gets the Fortune 8 skill's easier beast transformation effects, and he'll transform immediately for 8th raid's defense if possible. If transformed, or if the foe initiates, Fomortiis inflicts -10 attack and defense, he gets 80% damage reduction for follow-up attacks, and now gets 50% DR piercing. After combat, the closest foe within 4 spaces of the target end their actions immediately. Fomortiis was just the start of the turn-ending nightmare that Duo Alear ended up becoming. This effect is enemy phase only, but thanks to Leon, Firm Control Curve will stop this gimmick entirely. If the enemy does not have that skill, Fomortiis can be very annoying by ending the actions of possibly multiple units. This is why he just wants to survive, so the Nightmare gimmick can trigger. In regards to the transformation bonus, Armored Beasts get distant counter. This is how Fomortiis uses Force Save. With the new Fortune effects, it's way easier to meet the transformation conditions on a team with human allies. For a new C skill, the Demon King brings a new type of savior. Attack and Defense Briar Force Save is just like Twin Force Save. The only difference is that you get 5 flat damage reduction for first attacks, and your next counterattack deals true damage equal to 40% of the foe's damage dealt prior to reductions. If you're like me and you don't know what a Briar was, it's a spiky thorny bush. Basically, Briar's save is going to give retaliation damage by reflecting 40% of the original damage taken. This is like Counter Roar or Brash Assaults 4, so this won't stack with other similar effects. While Twin Save's healing is fine for shield fighter builds, Briar adds some damage while also giving you a little flat damage reduction. For armors that can or want to counterattack, maybe try to get a KO, Briar is going to be better than Twin Save. Twin Save just works well with the armored specials. The double trigger on the 40% damage reduction can kinda act like shield fighter's ability, but you also retain the damage of an offensive special. With that being said, shield fighter wants to be run with a 1 cooldown special. While you can use Sacred Cowl or Escutcheon, for pure tanking you really want Emblem Marth with Aegis and Pavis. This is one skill that heavily relies on an Emblem Ring. With the 1 cooldown Aegis, Fomortiis would double trigger it for 3 attacks in a row, only ever being vulnerable to a 4th hit of a quad. If the foe doesn't bring a full DR piercing number 4 hit, they have to face 80% regular DR from Leaden Regrets. On top of all of this, the first attacks of Fomortiis get 22 flat DR minimum. Once he gets KOs or ends the turns of other allies, this goes up further. A 100 damage attack against this setup deals 3 damage. Yeah. They really need to update the battle forecast because 99 just isn't good enough for these stupid amounts of damage in this game. Now since Fomortiis has Briar saves and powered counters and 50% DR piercing, you can try to end fights earlier with Hardy Bearing to get the counterattack off. Other than that though, you can run any stat booster, Squad A Seal, Wily Fighter, or Mystic Boost. The Demon King does lack healing. As per usual, you can go near save, but this is the first Briar skill in the game, so if you wanted to replicate that playstyle, you're gonna have to wait. For a higher damage build, Fomortiis can run the armored specials, Beacon slash Foe for ranged, Blaze for melee. His cooldown effects on Icy Ravager do nothing for the Emblem Mart shield fighter setup, but they do help the damage specials. Being on 1 cooldown each fight with no guard means you charge them for the counterattack. You can keep Briar for a higher damage counter, or you can go back to Twin Save to trigger the 40% DR again. Leaden Regrets 80% damage reduction on the follow-up can replace that part, but obviously it depends on your stance on DR piercing effects. Same goes for Slick slash Wily Fighter 4 versus Weaving Fighter. Overall, Winter Fomortiis has come out swinging. He's equipped the best defensive package possible, although you really want Emblem Marth. Without a 1 cooldown special, Shield Fighter is not that insane against high damage threats. Winter Shez's Brave Hits, for example, will just rip through the Demon King like a kid tearing open their Christmas Day presents. Our last unit for today is Winter Sommie. Oh, and the Alear duo. Duo Alear will continue their quest of expanding the definition of a dragon, not even slapping people this time. The Alear just hits them with the Christmas jazz hands. Now for this iteration, Alear is a blue infantry dragon. They have 40 HP, 43 attack, 46 speed, 30 defense, and 45 res. Speed and res super boons. If I did my math correctly, the Alears have trainee stats with 204 BST. They are the first Gen 9 trainee for the melee infantry group. For old skills, male Alear brought Dragon's Roar, female Alear brought Even Wes Wave D. We then have legendary male Alear's entire A skill, Emblem's Miracle. It's a very good ability. Distant counter, plus 9 stats, and 40% DR against first attacks and AoE specials. During enemy phase, if Alear has 3 allies within 3 spaces, he's going to get Miracle to survive a fatal blow, and after combat, he gets a full heal. This effect works once per map and doesn't stack with other non-special Miracle abilities. Now, for their weapon, Alear has the Wintry Arts, 11 Might Sling, Dual Phase Brave Dragonstone. Every turn, if within 2 spaces of an ally, Alear gets Divinely Inspiring to those allies. For combat, if within 3 spaces of an ally, Alear gets plus 5 to all stats and inflicts debuffs equal to 4 plus the number of distinct FE titles among your allies within 3 spaces. You need 2 different titles to get the max minus 10 debuffs. In addition, Alear deals true damage and gets flat damage reduction for first attacks equal to X. This X value is 5 times the total number of distinct titles on your team, plus the number of engaged allies. If you got 3 of those, you get 15 true damage and flat DR. As for Divinely Inspiring, this is a new status that has 3 effects. First, it grants stats equal to Y. The description uses X as a variable, but this is a different one from the weapons effects, so I changed it to Y here. Y will be the number of allies with Divinely Inspiring within 3 spaces, excluding the user. If you got 2 other Divinely Inspired allies, you get plus 6 to all stats. In addition, you get instant cooldown equal to Y before the foe attacks, and you heal on hit for Y times 4. This can be minus 2 instant cooldown just like Lagu's friend, and then heal up to 8 HP on hit healing. This can be minus 2 instant cooldown just like Lagu's friend, and then up to 8 HP on hit healing. Pretty good with a brave weapon. So basically, Duo Alear grants a status that is strongest when near other allies with the same buff, kinda like Triangle Attack. Divinely Inspiring grants bonus stats, instant cooldown before the foe attacks, and healing on hit. I don't remember if there are more, but I'm pretty sure on hit healing as a support effect is extremely rare. I only know Valentine's female Robin having it on her weapon. Since Divinely Inspiring requires other allies nearby, it's hilariously good on armored saviors. Not only can you get Lagu's friend style cooldown for your non-shield fighter users, but the on-hit healing can stack with the new Twin Save C skills. 15 HP restored on hit, good lord. Now when it comes to Duo Alear, their weapon has the same stat debuffing effect as their other versions, and the true damage and flat DR is the same on Summer Female Alear. Basically, you just want a team with various game titles and or units with emblem rings. That second part shouldn't be an issue. With Divinely Inspiring, Alear can charge Dragon's Roar to activate its cooldown effect, assuming they out-res. They can then heal 16 HP on retaliation because of the brave hits. For the dual skill, for all allies within 3 spaces, Alear neutralizes penalties and grants the low status plus the 50% DR piercing status. This dual skill can be reused every 3 turns. Now female Alear's DR piercing specials are not present, but you can still get partial DR piercing on all hits with this skill. The problem is that without this dual skill, Alear might run into damage issues. This is their only DR piercing method unless you change something out. At the very least, this ability is reusable and it's a team effect. For their last skill, Alear has Speed and Res Spiked Wall. The only unit with Speed and Res Bulwark 4 was legendary male Alear. This time he's brought the more offensive tier 4 Bulwark. On top of blocking movement for melee and ranged foes, this skill inflicts -4 speed and res in combat and grants true damage equal to 15% of the greater of the user's speed or res stats. It has 7 flat damage reduction for first attacks, and you get no guard. Spiked Wall is more offensive than tier 4 Bulwark. You lose the 40% DR and 7 HP sustain, but you get true damage and no guard, with the flat DR being your defensive perk. As a heads up, attack and defense Spiked Wall granted true damage based on the higher of defense or res. This variant is the higher of speed or res. Alear has a lot of both. For playstyle, Duo Alear can grant a variety of buffs to allies. This catch is that you need to be near other divinely inspired allies. Alear as a unit also depends on nearby allies, and with Emblem's Miracle requiring 3 allies plus being enemy phase only, they are a more defensive unit by nature. One issue is that Divinely Inspiring only applies to allies within 2 spaces. Everything else in the kit works from 3 spaces away, but if you spread out, you can't get Divinely Inspiring for the next turn. The good news is that with Spiked Wall, Alear can protect his backline. He's a frontline tank with distant counter and can self-charge Dragon's Roar. Now because of this, Alear front-loads all of his defensive power into the first attacks. This kit can get up to 22 flat DR, 40% regular DR, and 40% unpierceable DR. Due to Emblem's Miracle, this is normally okay. If the foe can't drop Alear to 1 HP on the first hit, Miracle's gonna keep him alive. Now Fatal Smoke 4 will bypass this though, so be aware. It's not perfect, but you could survive a follow-up with the Miracle special. However, if the Fatal Smoke 4 user has a high damage first attack, we've just made Alear weaker, so it's a bit of a trade-off. Now, it's not Miracle, but Alear could run Pavis or Aegis for higher unpierceable DR. He can pre-charge the first one, then 2 Brave hits to recharge. This lets him get unpierceable DR 2 times at the cost of a damage special. Alear needs to be getting doubled for this to happen. Try to get no follow-up if possible to not even deal with these situations in the first place. If you don't need Scowl, you could use Barricade. Bulwark and Warp Bubble would be pretty annoying on one unit. Content Control is another good mobility stopper. If you want Alear to fight everyone, you could use Nelsie Disrupt 4. This is another opportunity for Ice Tribe Felicia to shine with her Nelsie Disrupt support, and she's going to neutralize Alear's Dragon effectiveness. Dragon Scales will be an interesting B skill. You could get -3 cooldown before you get hit, which is only really helpful for Miracle, but it's there. It's a 50% DR piercing skill, but you will lose no guard. You could regain it via Speederman's Temple as a Sacred Seal. The Tier 4 Temple has the DR piercing as well. These types of skills can help Alear's personal damage if you can't use the dual skill for whatever reason, but I do think they will be more annoying with Spiked Wall's Bulwark and just being in the way. Overall, Duo Alear is similar to the legendary male Alear, but Divinely Inspiring brings some new support perks. Cooldown before getting hit may not benefit every build, but it can act like Liku's Friend's cooldown effect for non-infantry. You can then have the on-hit healing effect, which isn't a common ability to hand out. Keep in mind, this pairing wants the team to stay close by. You gotta bring everyone together to protect little Sommie. That's gonna be it for the 2024 Winter Banner, technically our last seasonal for the year. For those that aren't summoning, or maybe you're waiting to see what other banners are coming, we have a Tempest Trials ongoing that rewards Winter Eikthenir. Whoever dressed up our new Deer OC should continue to be in charge of picking ults. Excellent decision, plus Eikthenir's brought over a couple of his mythic effects. It's not everything, but for a reward unit, no complaining from me. We'll talk about the winner of this year's Reindeer Games next video. Thank you for watching, good luck on your summons, and I will see you there.